everyone. It's just gone 9 o'clock here in Dusseldorf, and that's about 8 o'clock UTC, and the current positions for the boats are 8 o'clock UTC. So we thought we'd give you another weather update and tracker because things are happening quite fast, and the amazing news for Jean-Luc and Mark is that the tides are turning once again, and in a couple of days Mark is going to be probably only 200 miles behind Jean-Luc, and they'll both be in the same weather system with some interesting developments towards the end of the course, which may favour Mark, so watch this space. Anyway, down here at the tail end of the fleet, we have Tapio down here on his way to Cape Horn with some heavy weather, and Istvan and Uku setting up for their own little battle right now, which is kind of interesting. So we'll interests everywhere on the track. So we'll look at Tapio first. He had his birthday yesterday, and just got a tweet from him. We were asking him what's he up to because he was actually heading south or southwest yesterday. But apparently he says it was part of the party. He didn't want to jibe straight away, and so on. So anyway, we advised him about this heavy weather coming. He's probably right now, if this forecast area is correct, he's probably getting 45s and gusting up to 50, and some reasonable sized seas as well, but he's quite comfortable. He's only making 4 knots at the moment, or 3.9 knots, and not too concerned. We know the boat's in good condition. He apparently has repaired his radio, so he's still no doubt getting his weather forecast, and this one should pass over pretty quick. So let's just see how it progresses. I'll just do it in 3 hourly increments. Here we go. There's 9 hours ahead, so he's probably got 9 hours of pretty solid stuff. It's going to swing from the west through to the southwest, and then it'll start to back off pretty quickly. So 12 hours, so 2000 UTC. So it's about 9 o'clock tonight. So yeah, in about 12 hours, that's where he'll be and what's happening there. So we'll look forward to hearing from him once he's out of that. There's some big winds here, but again, and I'll go back. He just scoots across the top of this. Hang on, I'll just go back 3 hours. There it goes. So yeah, that's, you know, he could get 60s and even higher, 65, maybe gusting higher, but this where he is now is the peak is behind, if this is correct, and then it's gone within 3 hours. So and that would mean that the sea state shouldn't get too dramatic because it's moving through pretty quick. Yeah, these are 6s and 7s, so he's got 6-7 metre seas, and you know, pretty rugged boat, tough skipper, all that. So he should be fine. So we'll look forward to catching up on him with tweets maybe later tonight, and then we'll go back and see how the future looks. Get back to the wind here. We've got that. Get rid of that one, and we'll go forward a day behind there. Where are we here? So that's the 22nd now, 2 days in advance. Again, some solid northwesterly winds. That'll keep him moving. It'll help with the barnacle issue because he'll have more wind than he needs. So he'll just barge his way through, dragging all them, and then very quickly it's going to swing around to the southwest a few hours later. And that one's, oh, that looks as if it's coming up from the bottom. Let's have a look here. But anyway, he won't get to that. So yeah, oh, it's part of this. It's part of this one here. I might just animate that through. I'm looking at this for the first time this morning. Here it is forming up here. It's formed south of him, this storm, and as it goes through, it's intensifying, folds over, but it should miss him. So it's 2 days in advance. Let's see. Anyway, I can come back to this 2 days. So let's say he's made 200 miles. So he might be there to about here somewhere. Oh, no, he might hook up on that. He could be 200 miles down there. So we'll keep an eye on that as it goes through. He may end up coming around here with the westerlies and the southwesterlies. So he's probably just going to miss it. But we'll keep an eye on it. And Tapio's getting used to this heavy weather now. He knows he's in the Southern Ocean, and he absolutely loves it. So, he's dipped south on purpose to get these breezes. That'll push him up a bit. So yeah, he should miss that. It's going to form in front of him, and we'll tell him about that later today. So all okay on Tapio's side there. Once that one goes through, that's quite a big one. It's forming up quite a lot. So glad he's missing that. And as it goes through the 24th, he's got some light winds, following winds, something else coming behind here. By then, that's the 25th. He'll be over here somewhere. 26. It's another puff of squall, but it's that's 28th now. He could be down here, so that could become something that'll influence his weather as well. But it's quite a way off. That's 8 days in advance, and a bit too hard to predict at that stage. So, but plenty of storms coming through past Cape Horn. Okay, so we'll come back to real-time weather again. Look at Istvan and Uku, and nothing's really changed there from what we were predicting yesterday. If we come back to the weather, Uku's still been going reasonably slow up until now. This report shows him doing 4 knots, and he's been able to alter his course now in the last few hours more in a northwesterly or north-northwesterly direction, and that's going to continue. As he continues up now, making on this starboard tack, he'll get into this more of an easterly airflow with the trades. They're still a bit fluffy, not really strong, but they're trying hard to form up. So I think Uku now is on a roll, and Istvan's stuck in a hole down here. He is doing 0.4 of a knot. There's a big calm hole that he's just sitting in, and the bad news there is when the wind fills in, it's all headwinds. So he's not going to be going anywhere fast, and this is where Uku will start to move away from him. We'll actually see if we just roll this through now. Let's get to both of them here. You'll see Istvan's headwinds will hold, so he'll probably tack across on that, come across on port tack, and be heading out in a northeasterly direction, while Uku's going in a north-northwesterly direction. So it's strengthening for Istvan. That'll make life challenging for him, and if he doesn't get a move on, he'll get some calms. He'll be in this area here, not calms, but lighter winds, but they're following winds. And Uku's trade winds, they'll give him a kick, but he's headed for the coast for sure. And if we come back for the big picture, I think it's pretty obvious to see that Uku will reach the trades well before Istvan and make north. So that's the 22nd now, and you can see it's all easterly winds. So in 2 days' time, Uku will be heading due north, and Istvan will still be struggling with headwinds and trying to get up into the zone of the trades. So this is clicking through. The trade winds then for Uku, not strong, but that'll make pleasant sailing. There's enough breeze there for him to be doing 5 knots and more maybe. And Istvan's got more headwinds. He'll be struggling up here, trying to get to these more easterlies, and he'll eventually get there by the 23rd. That's 3 days away. He'll be getting close. So he's definitely going to lose ground to Uku. Uku's going to clear out on him, and you can see he's got that struggle that we saw with Jean-Luc coming up the coast as well. So next few days, nothing dramatic for these guys. Take it as read that Uku's going to now pick up some of the ground that he's lost, because right now, again, if we do distances on the course to get Istvan parallel to Uku, he's probably about there. So he's about 350 miles behind in real terms on Uku. So a bit of fun. Okay, now back to the main game. The weather up the top here is very interesting indeed, and it's all changed again. So you can see here's the big picture. Okay, I'll just focus on this. There's areas of quite a lot of instability. It's hard to predict what's going to happen because it's all being driven by probably these stronger systems up north, and centers of highs over here, lows, all the rest of it. So all very confusing. But the next few days again are going to be very interesting to watch. So I'll just build this up. I won't make it too big so we can see the. I'm imagining what you've got on the screen. I've got a bit better view here, but the short-term weather. Mark Slats, he hasn't said he's motoring. I'm just assuming he's motoring, okay, because he's managed to make straight line course in relatively light winds, and I figured he had about 80 litres of fuel. He hadn't told us how much, but let's say it was half of what he had, and that would have given him about 35, 40 hours of motoring. But guess what? He's doing 2 knots right now. So you can assume for sure Mark has just run out of fuel. He's not going anywhere in a hurry. He's got light headwinds though, and he's just in touch with light headwinds over the top. And as he moves forward, if we look at the bigger one, assuming this forecast here is correct, and it's very hard to get it correct when you're right on the edge of centres with no wind. So what's showing here is like 5 knots. He could actually have 10 knots. You don't know. It's a little bit on the breeze, but he's so close to the wind shift right now over to the north when he's up there. He's only 60 miles away, and he's getting close to a westerly wind, which is on the beam. So So anything can happen there. It's hard to predict and forecast this area really well. And he's so close to being in touch with Jean-Luc in terms of getting in the same weather pattern. So a lot is going to depend on what happens today. You'll see Jean-Luc now, he's on a roll. He's doing 7.2 knots. It couldn't be better. It's on his starboard side, which is his strong side of the mast. It's on the starboard quarter. He'll have everything up. He's going for broke, and everything's playing out very well now for Jean-Luc. So that's okay. But let's look at what happens as the weather moves forward. And I'm juggling the sizes here, so I hope you can see on your screen, or just focus it to make sure it's right. And we'll click it through every 3 hours, and you'll see what's going to happen here. So first of all, Jean-Luc's still looking all right. It's going okay. It's going to then swap. This is only about 9 hours. This is 5 o'clock tomorrow. No, so this is nearly 24 hours later, or sometime before that. It's going to swap to his weak side and start strengthening. So Jean-Luc is probably going to reef down and slow down a little bit with these northerly winds on his port side. Mark Slats, it just depends how far he's managed to get across drifting and whether he can reach these breezes here. If he can, he's going to hook up, and he doesn't have to worry about following Jean-Luc anymore. What happens then is he starts heading back to Les Sables d'Olonne, the finish line. Okay, so you're starting to see both of them line up on the course, and it's like as if Mark Slats is able to cut the corner. Okay, and you can see now, even still, even no matter what happens to Mark, it's going to come down and meet him anyway. And as soon as it goes, once again, as soon as it goes from this northerly direction, Mark will tack across on port tack and start heading to Les Sables d'Olonne. Once again, they're starting to line up in this direction. Okay, so Mark doesn't have to get up to where Jean-Luc is anymore. This is the transition on the direction of the course, and that's a big deal when it comes to heading to the mark. So you know what we're looking at now when we think of Mark being a long way from Jean-Luc and he's got a big lead. If we look at the finish line here, and I'll put the course in. Okay, there's the course, so they've got to go this way. You can see as soon as Mark turns and Jean-Luc turns, even if I measure the distance now, if this is the average course to the finish, I'll get that screen out, Mark, in say this position here, he's only actually 100 miles difference in real terms for Jean-Luc and Mark Slats heading up this way to the finish. So bear that in mind for a while, and we'll watch what happens here with the weather. I'll pick it up a little bit more. Okay, and I'll just push it through every 3 hours now. Come on, here it comes. So the wind has come down. I think we need to make that smaller so you can see the relevance of this system here. This is very important because slowly it's enveloping both of them, and they'll both come into the effect of that high pressure system. So at that point, it's probably getting a bit tricky. So you can't keep bashing into these headwinds, but they're not going to go anywhere else. They're going to do it for as long as they can and wait, and what will happen is this system will come over the top of them. So as it's coming across, they've still got headwinds, so Mark's got headwinds. This is the 22nd, so this is 2 days from now. They'll be tacking whatever, but if they'll know the centre's here, and if Mark then he'll probably decide to go north, he'll go out on starboard tack and be making in a maybe even north-northwesterly direction, waiting for the wind to swing, because this high here is moving. And Jean-Luc is going to have challenges, because if he's up here, the centre is going to go over him, so he's going to slow down, pretty much stop, and it'll be interesting to see what Jean-Luc does. So this is now a bit over 2 days in front, and 2 days from now, it's a real boat race. This is where it's going to change, and there's development every day now to actually how this will evolve. Eventually, remembering the finishes over here in Les Sables d'Olonne, eventually, as I click this through, this is one of the last weather patterns for the finish of the race, and you can see as it comes across, if Mark is down here and Jean-Luc is up here, once he's gone through that slow period, Jean-Luc will start to get some favourable breezes again. He'll be the first ones to get the southerlies before Mark. Mark will be getting southwest or easterlies, and so we go slow. So there's going to be this transition between Mark going slow and fast versus Jean-Luc going slow and fast, but they'll be side by side, okay? And then they're both on the same system. They'll both be challenged with this one. They'll be coming through here, and this then becomes the new play. Who's going to be stuck in this centre here? As it goes across, It could envelop both of them. It might get one and not the other. So it's a real gamble and incredibly hard to predict exactly what's going to happen. And then as we go through to the end, watch this. There's a big blow coming. And remembering that Jean-Luc has now officially said his ETA is around the 31st. And you can see here, they're going to be in this zone here. And now the highest one, if Jean-Luc is on this side of the course and Mark Slatz is on the lower side of the course, both heading to the finish, whoever's on the higher side, if they're up in this, they're just going to clear out. Whoever's on the low side might again be stuck in this area of no wind. So it's impossible to predict what's going to happen. And then you've got this sudden change before this big blow here is coming down from the northwest and starts to put in this sleigh ride or tailwinds into the finish. So this is now the 27th. So it's, say, 4 days away from what Jean-Luc is declaring has his finishing time. Okay, so if we go 4 days at average boat speed, it's going to be about 500 miles out. So here's the deal. This is about 500 miles out. So Jean-Luc's weather predictions and estimated time of arrival is about right. At this time, which is the 27th, okay, he's going to be about here somewhere, and they're going to be pushing this together. Mark Slatz is going to be right beside him, maybe in front of him, who knows, but they're both going to get this, and they're just there, all right? So if you watch this come down, as we go through every 3 hours, big winds, strong winds. This is 40, 45 knots. The seas will be short and steep. You know, it's the Atlantic. They're not like the rolling Southern Ocean swells. They'll be a lot closer together, but they'll be quite demanding on the beam, you know, crashing waves. 40, 45 knots maybe gusting there, and it's going to hold. We've now got the 28th, then it'll go light. Here's the worst bit. That's Jean-Luc's worst side. That's his weak side of the mast. He's going to have to be reefed down. Mark Slatz, everything's strong on Mark Slatz's boat, including the skipper. So who's going to be going fastest there? I would have to say Mark Slatz is probably going to be going quite fast in the lead into the finish. So, and then, depending on, this is getting really tight now, there's a big blow coming here. At this stage, it's 29th. There's it's changed again now. It's increased in its speed. So now it's projecting that this is arriving at that position on the 29th, okay, in the morning of the 29th. The boats are going to be, if Jean-Luc is right, they're going to be in here somewhere. And there's huge winds coming here. This is 60, 70 knots up there. And I'll just take this to as far as the forecast can go. Fortunately, it dips down and misses, so they'll get some big winds and then it goes quiet. So if we're lucky, this is the 29th, they might have a beautiful run into the finish in light winds, and all of us won't freeze our butts off in absolutely freezing cold temperatures and sloppy wet seas to go and meet whoever is the winner at the finish. If that hasn't confused everyone, I'll be very surprised. But what I'm really saying is no one knows what's going to happen to the finish. This is going to carry on for days, if not right until the last few days of the finish. So watch this space. Thanks.